Hello, our friends. This is Coach and Nick from Echo Base Network with the Star Wars News Wrap-Up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. Today's topics include Kathleen Kennedy has been told to stop announcing movie projects. Recently, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have sat down with Entertainment Weekly to give an update on the Star Wars franchise. Tales of the Jedi came out yesterday. We're going to look at viewer reactions. Along with that, another episode of Andor has dropped, episode number 8. The Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser is continuing to fail, and last but not least, a little bit of Star Wars gaming news. As always, we ask that you will join us here at the network, subscribe, like the video, and we hope to see you on our weekly Saturday night live stream. In our opening news of the day, Kathleen Kennedy has been told to stop announcing movie projects, and all of this is allegedly. Puck News is saying Disney CEO Bob Chapek has advised Kathleen Kennedy to stop announcing projects until they are set in stone to avoid further negative press surrounding the franchise and the company. We haven't had a Star Wars movie in a few years, and we are a few more years away from getting one. And at this point, we don't even know what movie that will be, and for all intents and purposes, Lucasfilm doesn't seem to know what movie that will be either. I've been saying all along, give us a Mandalorian movie if they want to have something successful, but that's just my 2 cents. I must say it is interesting how this news comes out on the heels of Michelle Rejwan stepping down as SVP of Live Action Development and Production. With so much news about Kennedy over the years, how she's not really running Lucasfilm, she's a lame duck, her firing is imminent. Could this bit of news actually be true?
Yeah, so it probably was a good idea on Disney's part to tell Kathleen Kennedy to shut the hell up, because we have been getting project announcement after project announcement after project announcement. Lando, freaking Rian Johnson's trilogy, Rogue Squadron. None of this stuff is happening. Like it's getting to the point to where it is an absolute joke, and people are literally laughing at them when they make announcements because they're like, oh, that's nice. I wonder if it'll actually happen, though. So it's probably good for them to tell her to basically shut up. As far as the next movie goes, who knows what they're going to do. There's rumors about there being taking place after the sequel trilogy. I don't really think they know what they're doing over there, so they'll probably do something dumb like that. But I don't know. Maybe somebody will light a fire underneath their asses and give them some good sound advice for running this IP, because up to this point, it is, for the most part, been a complete failure with some good achievements here and there sprinkled in.
So I agree with your take, bro. It's like every single time they announce a Star Wars project, I'm like, well, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Our next bit of news, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have both sat down with Entertainment Weekly for an interview. In the sit-down interview with Entertainment Weekly, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni opened up about the inner workings at Lucasfilm. Favreau went on to say, "There's so many characters in Star Wars and so many time periods that we're often making charts of how things would intersect and how things would impact one another. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to storytelling, us pitching each other ideas. We're both writers, so we both go off and write on our own. And then we'll contribute to a scene or a punch-up, but really, it's more about getting the ideas going." Dave Filoni then responded saying, "We have the greatest toy box in the world in Star Wars and so many great characters. The challenge is actually not when you start. It's where we are now, so many seasons in with Mando. So we don't just have Star Wars history and lore that came before us. We have our own that we have built up just on The Mandalorian." Favreau and Filoni also shared how their offices are next door to one another, and that these charts will show how content impacts and intersects with each other. Finally, Jon Favreau said, "There are so many creative nodes that are all sharing with one another, all built in within this world George Lucas has created. It's apparent that Favreau and Filoni are building a bigger Star Wars world, and it's my hope that this will be a positive direction for the franchise."
So like I was saying earlier, there's been a few successes in the Disney Lucasfilm era, and pretty much for the most part, those successes have come from Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni.
Yes.
So, the fact that they're working next to one another and they're pitching ideas and all that sort of stuff, and Jon Favreau has said in the past on how important it is for the fans to like what they're doing and that sort of thing. So he's actually, I think, takes that into account. I think moving forward, they're our best hope, those two, for giving us good Star Wars content, even though I got some issues with Filoni a little bit, and not everything they've done has been great, aka the Book of Boba Fett minus 2 episodes.
Right.
But hopefully they've learned from the mistakes that they've made and the failures of Lucasfilm up to the point from when they bought it from George Lucas, and they start to make some course corrections and change some things up and give fans what they want to see. It doesn't have to be all fan service and all that sort of stuff, but there at least needs to be a coherent story there, with good dialogue and interesting characters. So I don't know. We'll see what they do.
I will say that watching their interview, watching the two of them sit down together and talk about the process and all the things that they've got going on, and basically talk about the intersection of all the content that they're creating and coming up with, it gives me a glimmer of hope, guys. It really does. Like Nick just said, help us, Dave and John. You're our only hope. And it's not that we think what you've done is perfect at all, but they are our only hope right now, I think.
Yeah, because nobody else has been announced to be working on any other projects. I mean, Rian Johnson, but that's probably never going to happen.
Yeah, some movies. That's it.
There's nobody else for us to put our faith and trust in when it comes to Disney Star Wars other than these two guys.
Right.
Until that day comes, we pretty much have to just depend on them doing something competent, which I think they're capable of because they've kind of proven that they've been able to do that with previous stuff with Mandalorian series and stuff. So
sure. In our next bit of news, Tales of the Jedi dropped this week, actually just this morning, and it's an animated series, and it looks fantastic, Nick. Many fans were excited to see the return of Ashley Eckstein, Ian McDiarmid, and even Liam Neeson back as Qui-Gon Jinn, to return and voice their respective characters, even Bryce Dallas Howard voicing Yaddle. It was awesome to see some of the moments that fill in particular gaps in Star Wars lore, and I love seeing Ahsoka secretly attending Padme's funeral in the moment between Ahsoka and Rex before entering the hangar that we see at the conclusion of the 7th season of the Clone Wars. It's great Star Wars storytelling. But with all of that said, Twitter can be a bit rough, and here are some examples of reactions to the series. Script Trooper says, just finished episode 1 of Tales of the Jedi. Thank you, Dave Jabroni, for yet another lore-breaking, nonsensical pile of manure. Kara of Midgard says Tales of the Jedi is an absolute masterpiece. The Star Wars underworld says more!
So yeah, Tales of the Jedi came out. I've seen a lot of people talking about it and really liking what they've seen. And then I've seen other people that have kind of been not really liking it too much. Now, I, of course, have not had a chance to watch it yet just because I've been so busy, but our good buddy John Kakaza has actually edited all the episodes into one basically long movie and has sent a link on his Google Drive. So I am going to watch it. Now, for me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the animated stuff. But the last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars season 7, I thought were excellent. So if they're going to be doing more and more of these animated series, I'd like to see something more in the OT time frame, during that timeline, or maybe even immediately right after Return of the Jedi. I think there's some interesting story arcs they could have during that time frame. So I am going to check out this Tales of the Jedi, even though I'm not the biggest Ahsoka fan or the biggest Dooku fan. I hear a lot of mixed things on it, so I'll watch it, and I'm sure we'll probably talk about it on one of our Saturday night live streams and my thoughts on it. So you guys make sure that you come Saturday nights at 7:00 Central Time.
I do have to say that I really like the medium, Nick. It makes me excited. For one, I want this show to be successful for Lucasfilm, because if it's a success, if Filoni was over this project. This was his baby.
Mm-hmm.
And if this was a success, then Filoni's going to be able to bring us more Tales of the Jedi-esque seasons. And it might be a Mace Windu arc. It might be a Qui-Gon Jinn arc. It might be a Darth Maul arc. It might be a Luke Skywalker arc. I don't think it's going to be Ahsoka and Duke. Their story's been told. They just did that.
Mm.
So give us another season of Tales of the Jedi and bring us two different stories. I love how they did this and pulled this off. Now, I'm not crazy about everything that happened. I binge watched the whole thing today. There's some things about it that we're going to watch, that we're going to talk about this weekend that I wasn't crazy about, especially with the last episode. But other than that, and I really like the medium.
I'm probably going to end up agreeing with you on whatever it is you're talking about.
You will.
Because I don't know what Coach is talking about, but I'm probably going to agree with them.
For sure. Speaking of Star Wars shows, another episode of Andor has dropped. The 8th episode of Andor dropped this week, and it's the longest episode yet, coming in at 57 minutes. The series continues to get rave reviews from the media, but it's coming in very mixed with fan reaction. We'll be discussing this at length this coming Saturday night on our live show, and we hope you join us.
All right, so I've not seen episode 8 yet either. I literally was in Dallas, just got back this week and been playing catch up. But I will say I'm not really digging the Andor show. I don't hate it. But I'm also like the episode's out, and I could have forced myself to make time to watch it, but I'm really just not that interested. So it's not like House of the Dragon where every single week I was like, oh man, I can't wait to see what happens. Like I just don't really care that much about this show, unfortunately. And I actually did have high hopes going into it, but we still have several episodes left. Maybe they'll end on a high note. And when I think we got one or two more seasons, I think they're going to do. I think one more season. And so, it could still, there's still time for it to pull me in. But like Coach said, we'll be discussing that on Saturday night's live stream this Saturday night at 7:00 Central Time.
And in our next bit of news, WDW News Today reports that the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser is failing due to so many open dates and lack of booking. As a result, Disney is actually giving away free stays at the Space Hotel. That's right. You could get a free 3-day, 2-night stay. Back in May, CEO Bob Chapek boasted of a continued high demand for the Starcruiser and an expectation for the 2-night experience to reach 100% utilization for the third quarter, meaning they expect the Starcruiser to continue to reach capacity for each voyage.
Oh, Bob. This is a complete corporate, political, shareholders, positive response. He's not going to come out and be like, this thing is sucking, like we can't hardly get it filled. If that was the case, they wouldn't be giving away free night stays. And me personally, I wouldn't spend the money it would cost me to get there to go for free, to even do a video for it for the channel.
Yeah.
That's how unimportant that pile of crap hotel is to me. It's all based around the sequel trilogy, which I absolutely despise and hate. And I have no interest. I will never go to that hotel. Even if they were to send me there for free and pay for my trip there, I still wouldn't go because I got better things I could do with my time than to be around Rey and the First Order and Kylo Ren.
The culminating activity is Rey against Kylo Ren.
Yeah. I care nothing. Like it makes me sick even hearing their names or seeing them. I absolutely despise those people and those characters. And so, I'm not surprised by this news that they're starting to give free stays away. The hotel's a complete disaster. They don't know what they're doing with Star Wars. They could have easily made, I guarantee you, if they made a OT hotel that was took place on Hoth, Tatooine, Endor, the Death Star, in a Star Destroyer or something, and had all those kind of layouts, like the Rebel base on Hoth with the hallways and they're like ice and stuff, and the whole setup and all that. Man, people would be going. I would probably save money up to go experience that.
Sure.
But not with what they're doing. And they're just completely out of touch with the fan base, in my opinion.
And in a little bit of Star Wars gaming news, the LEGO Star Wars games are always a good time, and the latest title, the Skywalker Saga, is releasing 30 new playable characters as a downloadable content. If you've been wanting to play as Ezra Bridger, Admiral Thrawn, Cad Bane, Cobb Vanth, the Armorer from The Mandalorian, Captain Rex, or even Asajj Ventress, this DLC will be your opportunity. Nick, I like going through the LEGO Star Wars games. Like, they're fun. I only played the first episode or the first level of this one. I will go through it. It was fun. I just haven't had the desire to sit down and play on the Switch. But it is going to happen. I'm going to go through the game, and I like the fact that they're releasing some new characters that people don't get to typically play. That's good fun.
I guess. I mean, to me, it's the same game with a different skin.
I mean, that's true. That's true. But some have blasters and some have lightsabers and things like that. Different.
But the mechanics and stuff, whether you play Han Solo or a skin with Admiral Thrawn,
that's every LEGO game.
Yeah, they're both going to have blasters. So this is just a typical game company money grab. Throwing these out there. I'm not a big fan of these what I call skin packs, where it's just basically changing the look for you giving them money, and it doesn't change the experience of the game whatsoever. So if you're into that, I'm sure there's people out there that are gonna be like, oh, cool, I can play the exact same game with a different looking bot on the screen. But for me, yeah, I'd pass. Which I have played the Lego Star Wars games in the past, and they were fun. But those type of games for me, like once I go through it once, it's a one and done thing. There's not really a whole lot of replayability for me in those kind of games.
And I think that's kind of what they're trying to do. Maybe is to make the replayability a little bit better for somebody like you. That wouldn't work. But if somebody wants to go through and beat it as Wicket or Asajj Ventress or whatever, now they're going to have their opportunity. So more choices for the gamer. I'm all down for that. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's a ton of hardcore Lego fans out there that love that kind of stuff. And for those people, they're probably just creaming on themselves freaking thinking about this DLC that's coming out. For me, it's just kind of whatever.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for being here. As we always say, we are your Echo Base Network. May the Force be with you. We will see you Saturday night at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time as we have our weekly Saturday night Star Wars live stream. Oh, yeah. Join our member family. Go get some merch and all that other stuff. See you guys.
See y'all.